Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Host Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. COVID-19 vaccine could be ready by March 2021 for developing countries, says PAHO. This story takes the lead in our 986th edition of Caribbean Perspective for Monday, 16th November 2020. Details after this important message.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Welcome back. The Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, believes that a COVID-19 vaccine could be ready for developing countries like Jamaica to access by March 2020. TVJ's Prince Moore has the details.
Assistant Director of PAHO, Dr. Jarbas Barsosa da Silva, says by the end of December, the licensing process should be underway for most of the 11 vaccines, which are now in the final phase of testing. He says production for delivery should begin by the end of the first quarter of 2021.
We cannot be 100% sure today because we need to wait to this process being finalized. But we expect that by during the first semester, maybe by March, we can have the first deployment of vaccine. And the idea is that every country that has joined COVAX facility, and Jamaica is one of the participants of COVAX, will receive the vaccine at the same time.
Jamaica is among countries in the region which are part of the COVAX facility being implemented by PAHO. Dr. Barbosa da Silva has also sought to allay fears in relation to the safety of COVID-19 vaccines being developed, emphasizing that no live virus material is being used. He said that the vaccines now being developed will be among the safest ever made. And addressing concerns that the vaccines might not be safe based on the speed at which they are being developed, Dr. Barbosa da Silva noted that they will be subjected to rigorous scrutiny. He explains that when the vaccines are ready, companies will have to publish crucial information on them, which will then be scrutinized by experts worldwide.
So all this research now was expedited, of course, in order to face the emergency. But all the procedures are being taken account. No vaccine will be used if this vaccine is not produced in a good quality producer and it has evidence, scientific evidence to prove that it is safe and that it is efficacious. So we can ensure that this is a request that nobody is released due to the pandemic. No, we will review very carefully. The national regulatory authorities will review very carefully all the data that a producer needs to present in order to get their vaccine license to be used.
The COVAX facility is designed to accelerate equitable access by countries globally to appropriate and safe COVID-19 vaccines. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says that Jamaica's contribution to the facility entitles it to doses for 10% of the population. Prince Moore, TVJ News.
St. Lucia's Customs Controller Peter Chico had issued an ultimatum to an opposition MP, Dr. Ernest Hilaire, to produce relevant paperwork on the importation of his SUV or face the seizure of the vehicle. Now the authorities have made good on that warning by taking possession of the vehicle in the middle of the night. Solange Alfred of HTS News Force reports.
The Land Rover belonging to Dr. Ernest Hilaire that has stirred much controversy has now been seized by the Customs Department. On the evening of November 12th, Customs officers brandishing a warrant took possession of the vehicle.
I can confirm that Customs did come to my residence at Rodney Bay after 9 last night to collect the vehicle, which is in contention. They indicated that they were detaining the vehicle. It was not a seizure, as they detained why and how, and he indicated it was pending an inquiry.
The ongoing saga involves Comptroller of Customs Peter Chico, who has repeatedly demanded that Dr. Hilaire provide documentation regarding the importation of the SUV, but the former diplomat remains adamant that the information being sought by customs officials is already in their possession.
When asked to explain, they said it was an inquiry into improper importation. I am not sure what that means or why that issue has now come up, because all the exchange of letters with the controller centered around he argued that I had not given him a copy of a supplier's commercial invoice.
Dr. Hilaire is relying on legal counsel to defend him from the ordeal that has now left him without the vehicle.
We've always said that the moment they take the vehicle, we will go to the courts and we will expose the stupidity of what they were doing. But even more than that, the abuse of public office, the malfeasance in office, and the maliciousness and vindictiveness of this government. And the lawyers will now proceed, as we always stated we would do, to settle this matter in court.
If Dr. Hilaire is successful in the courts, who will foot the bill for what some have described as a frivolous attack? The Castries South MP says the island has far more pressing issues to deal with than the seizure of his vehicle.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick.
Major changes have been made to the GATE and scholarship policies in Trinidad and Tobago, and the changes are effective immediately. Education Minister Dr. Nan Gaspidali says the move comes due to the fallout from COVID-19 and other external factors. She says the changes will save government around $100 million annually. TV6's Renessa Cutting reports.
Cabinet has taken a decision to make critical adjustments to the GATE and scholarships program, which will allow for greater equity in distribution of precious resources, which will focus the assistance where it is most required. Accordingly, with immediate effect, no more than 100 national scholarships will be awarded annually.
This means the National Scholarship Program is cut by 75%, down from the 400 recipient average of previous years. 5 open and 5 additional scholarships will now be awarded across each of 10 subject groupings.
The 10 cognate groupings are Business Studies, Creative and Performing Studies, Environmental Studies, General Studies, Humanities, Information, Communication and Technology Studies, Language Studies, Mathematics, Natural Sciences, and Technical Studies.
The scholarship program will be supplemented by 500 bursaries, comprising a book allowance, personal maintenance allowance, and 100% GATE funding at local institutions.
The amended National Scholarship and Bursary Program will take effect immediately based on the 2020 CAPE results. Intended course of study should be in alignment with priority areas of development, 15%. Extracurricular activities or contribution to community or country, 15%. A purpose statement, 10%. Academic performance, 30%. Need as evidenced by the means test, 30%.
The GATE program will also undergo critical changes, which should see less students qualifying for the program and even less persons flunking out.
Effective August 2020, all applications for GATE funding will include a mandatory means test. Failure to complete the means test will disqualify the application from being considered for GATE funding.
The previous income means test still applies. Therefore, only households with incomes of $10,000 and under will be eligible for 100% funding.
With immediate effect, funding under the GATE program will be provided for no more than one program up to the undergraduate level, and funding for postgraduate programs will be discontinued.
Students currently enrolled in postgraduate programs will receive funding until August 2021, while those in undergrad programs will be funded for the normal duration.
Students enrolled in programs at regional campuses of the University of the West Indies that are offered at UA St. Augustine campus will be provided the equivalent level of funding at the St. Augustine campus. Students who are already in possession of undergraduate or postgraduate qualifications, regardless of whether or not they were beneficiaries of the GATE program, will not be able to access GATE funding for any other program.
The minister says these changes are anticipated to save the government roughly $100 million annually. Renessa Cutting, TV6 News.
The Guyana Human Rights Association, GHRA, has managed to raise Guyanese $1.2 million to bring the Argentine team to Guyana to investigate the murders of Joel and Isaiah Henry and Harish Singh. Attorney at law Nigel Hughes says that the Henry family has not received any further updates from the police, or have they been apprised of the RSS report. The details in this report from Wendell Badri of HGP Nightly News.
Speaking with this newscast on Thursday, Attorney at law Nigel Hughes stated that the family of the murdered teens on the west coast of Berbice have not received any updates from the police, neither have they been apprised of the report submitted to the police by the RSS team.
No, as far as I'm aware, the family has not been updated on anything, not the arrest, not the current state of investigation, neither on RSS report. They have received no update whatsoever.
Meanwhile, the attorney stated that through the Guyana Human Rights Association, GHRA, in collaboration with the law firm representing the family, Hughes, Fields and Stovey, it was able to garner $1.2 million Ghana dollars within the first 24 hours of the initiative.
Guyana Human Rights has a campaign on to raise funds. I know the AP and UFC have committed pay for them, and so insofar as that's what I'm aware of so far. And we've got other contributions. I know Human Rights raised over $1 million already, and there are various people who've committed to me contributions that are coming.
In a release to the media on Thursday, the GHRA stated that it views the fundraising efforts as an opportunity for promoting ethnic reconciliation and further for Guyanese to find common grounds in helping to bring the murders of the three teens to a resolution. Resolving this crime in a manner acceptable to the majority of right-thinking Guyanese will contribute significantly to ethnic reconciliation in Guyana. The Guyana Police Force is on record as indicating that they would welcome the assistance of the Argentine Team of Forensic Anthropology, EAAF, the statement read. The release by the body also stated that the response of faith-based organizations has been particularly encouraging, with offers to hold special collections over the next 2 weekends during religious services. GHRA is encouraging other organizations, professional firms, commercial businesses, and other NGOs to organize a convenient way for their employees and members to make a joint donation. All pledges will be treated confidentially by the GHRA. Any publicity about them will only be made by the donors themselves. The GHRA is encouraging persons to make an initial pledge of a particular sum, but to not transfer actual funds until the position of the government is clarified, or unless it specifically asks persons to do so, since the government was asked to contribute 50% of the funding toward the initiative, but no response has yet been given. Pledges can be made through the GHRA's email address, ghragui@gmail.com, via its Facebook page, Guyana Human Rights Association, or by visiting its office at 56B Austin Place and Hadfield Street, Georgetown, from 9 to 12 hours Monday to Friday, where further clarifications can be sought. Wendell Badri, Nightly News.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.